For this video, we are looking at learning objective 4, contrasting between chemical and physical changes / properties. So difference between chemicals and physical changes. And properties are adjectives. Didn't know you were getting an English lesson that describe matter. So changes are verbs that explain what happens to matter. So the first two types of properties that I'm going to talk about are intensive and extensive. So intensive properties depend on what the substance is. So this is the type of matter. These help to identify these substances. Then you have extensive. So extensive depends on how much matter we have. I don't know why this is there. Ignore that. So this is the amount of matter. These are observations about matter that can be observed, that can be measured. So if I have like mass, right, volume, length, those types of things would be extensive. Intensive would be density, magnetic properties, boiling point, melting point. These things depend on what type of matter I have. The next type of properties we have, physical properties, are descriptions that can be observed without changing the property. So example, we can have color, density, mass. These are all physical properties. And then we can have chemical properties. So these are descriptions that in order to be observed, substances must change. So chemical, these are descriptions that in order to be observed, the substance must change what it is. So flammability, whether or not something is flammable. Ability to tarnish. Reactivity. Talking about the reactivity would be a chemical property. Physical property is going to be color, density, mass, things that I can kind of observe without actually changing what the substance is. So then we have physical and chemical properties. We also have physical and chemical changes. So the changes, so we can have, so physical changes are going to be changes that these do not change what the substance is. So these do not change the composition. So they do not change the composition. That term again, probably going to be looking for that term a lot on your test. So physical do not change the substance. So they do not change the composition of matter. So composition is staying the same. It remains constant. So examples of this would be changes of state. So any type of change of state. So dissolving is also a physical change because we can get that substance that we dissolve back out of it. It doesn't change what that substance is. Okay, so change of state. So these are going to be like your melting, freezing, evaporation, condensation, sublimation, that type of stuff. Okay, so then we can have chemical changes. So a chemical change, these do change. So they do change what the substance is. So these do change the composition. So these guys are changing the composition of matter. Okay. So examples of these are mainly reactions, right? So iron rusting. So rusting is where iron reacts with oxygen. Rust is no longer iron, so it's completely different from iron. So when we react with iron, it's no longer when oxygen reacts with iron, it's no longer iron. It's called rust, which is iron oxide. And it's a mixture of two different iron oxides. So one thing to remember are that properties are adjectives. These describe matter, right? So they're descriptions. Whereas changes are what's happening. So these are verbs. Again, remember, properties are adjectives. They describe, their descriptions, whereas changes are verbs. It's what is happening to matter. So ice is melting. That would be a physical change. The melting point of water is 0 degrees Celsius. That would be a physical property. Oxygen is flammable. That's a chemical property. Oxygen reacts with hydrogen to form water. That's a chemical change. So these are different ways that we are describing these things. So remember, properties are descriptions. They're adjectives, whereas changes are what is happening to matter. So they're verbs. That is learning objective 4, which is to contrast between chemical and physical changes and properties. Okay.